Hello students, welcome to Siba Education Science. Today we're talking about structure of living organisms, cells and organization. And then we'll be talking about the functions of organelles. In our previous lesson we talked about a cell and microscope. We learned that the cell is the basic unit of life. So when we take a living organism and then we break it down, the smallest thing we are going to be seeing will be the cell. Okay. Now cells are very small and can only be seen with the help of a microscope. Since they are very small, we cannot examine them with our naked eye. We will need a microscope to help in the analysis. There are two types of microscope. We have the light and then the electronic. The light can only give us a magnification of times 2000. So if our object has a size of 1 centimeter, when we magnify it, we are going to get 2000 centimeters under the light microscope. Okay. Now when our object has a size of 1 centimeter and then it is examined under the electronic microscope, which has a magnification of 10 million, our image size is going to be 10 million centimeters. And then we can see that that is very, very large. So the electronic microscope can give us a detailed view, whereas the light microscope can just give us a basic view. Okay, today we'll be talking about the organelles, just as we saw on the first page, or as I stated earlier. Now, there are two main types of cells. We have the prokaryote cell and then the eukaryote cell. The prokaryote cell is a cell without the nucleus. Prokaryote, before nucleus. So pro means before, karyote means nucleus. Okay, so a prokaryote cell does not have a nucleus, neither does it have these things called the organelles. But the other type of cell, which is the eukaryote cell, eukaryote means true nucleus. Okay, that type of cell has the nucleus and also has the organelles. Okay, so prokaryote cells do not have organelles, neither do they have nucleus, but eukaryote cells have organelles and nucleus. Now, what are organelles then? Organelles are specialized structures within a living cell. They are specialized structures within a living cell. They perform specific roles in the cell. Okay, they are just like the organs in our body. They are specialized structures within the body that perform specific roles. Now, for these organelles, they are specialized structures in the cell that perform specific roles. Now, when we examine a cell under the light microscope, these are the 7 main organelles we are going to be seeing. Now we're going to see the cell wall, depending on whether it is a plant cell, it is a fungi cell, okay, or it is an animal cell. If it is an animal cell, we are not going to see the cell wall, but we are going to see a cell membrane. We will see a cytoplasm, mitochondria, nucleus, vacuole. And we will see a chloroplast only in the plant cell. Okay, so these are the 7 things we will see in a cell. If we take a plant cell, if we take an animal cell, some of these will be missing. If we take a fungi cell, some of these will be missing. But when we take a plant cell, these are the 7 basic parts we will see in the cell. Okay, so we have the cell wall, the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, the nucleus, mitochondria, vacuole, and then chloroplast. These are the 7 organelles in a cell. Let me go over again. We have the cell wall, the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, the nucleus, the mitochondrion, and then the chloroplast. So you can pause the video here and list these 7 organelles down. Okay, welcome back. Let's take the organelles one after the other and then see what they do. Now, the cell wall is only present in plant cells but not in animal cells. When we take the fungi cells too, they also have cell wall. Okay, but in this lesson we are just only comparing plant cells and animal cells. That is why I stated that it is present in plant cells but not in animal cells. It is made up of cellulose and is the outermost covering in plant cells. So when you take a plant cell, you're going to see a rigid structure. This green part here, it is a rigid structure around the plant cell. And then its duty is to provide support and protection. Okay, it is a rigid structure here whose duty is to provide support and protection. And then don't forget, it is made up of cellulose. Okay, it is made up of cellulose. Now, next to the cell wall is the cell membrane. It is the outermost covering in the animal cell, but in the plant cell, we learned already that the outermost covering is the cell wall. So next to the cell wall is the cell membrane in the plant cell, but in the animal cell, it is the outermost covering. Now, the cell membrane controls the movement of substances in and out of the cell. It is semi-permeable. It's just like borders, okay? If you do not have visa to cross a border, you are not allowed to enter. The cell membrane works in the same way. If you are not something that should be allowed inside, it will reject you. But if you are something that should be allowed into the cell, you are going to be easily admitted. It also separates the inner content of the cell from the outside. The other structures in the cell are kept in it. It's just like a rubber keeping everything inside the plastic bag. It is also called the plasma membrane. So when you don't hear the cell membrane, but you hear the plasma membrane, we're talking about the same thing. Now, the next thing we are going to see in a cell is the cytoplasm. It is a gel-like fluid that fills the cell. It is jelly-like fluid that fills the cell. It is a site where organelles and cell parts can be found. So within the cell, we have within the cell membrane, we have our cytoplasm filling this whole area. Okay, now in the cytoplasm, you can find our nucleus, you can find our mitochondria, you can find our vacuoles and all other parts. Okay, now since this is where everything is found, this is also where all chemical reactions take place. It's just like the house. The floor of the house is where every activity takes place. Okay, so for the cytoplasm, it's a gel-like fluid that fills cells, and then all the other structures can be found in the cytoplasm. Now let's go to the brain of the the brain of the cell, and this is what we call the nucleus. It is what determines what a cell should do and what a cell should not be able to do. It serves as the brain of the cell. It controls all the cell's functions and contains most of the cell's genetic material. Now, this is our nucleus here, the structure of the nucleus. It determines our characteristics. This nucleus here contains the genes that determines our characteristics. So the nucleus is the brain of the cell. These nuclei come together and then they determine what we'll be able to do. Now, next thing we can find in the cell is the mitochondria. It is sausage-shaped structure in the cell. Okay, the mitochondria is the site where energy is produced from respiration in cells. Now, respiration is the breakdown of glucose to release energy. Now, when we eat, the food is broken down in the digestive system. The nutrients are absorbed into our bodies or our body cells. We take in oxygen when we breathe in, and then this oxygen diffuses into the cells. Okay, this oxygen diffuses into the cells, and then inside the cells they are broken down in the mitochondria. Okay, now a singular for mitochondria is mitochondrion. The mitochondrion is the site where food is broken down to release energy in cells. Vacuole is a fluid-filled cavity. When you take the plant cell, we normally see a large central vacuole. It stores fluid that gives the plant its support. In animal cells, it also stores fluid and waste inside the cells. So in the animal cells, they are many and temporary, but in the plant cell, they are always present. Okay. Now, in the plant cell, we can also see the special structure here called the chloroplast. The chloroplast contains green pigments called chlorophyll, which are used for photosynthesis. That is why plants are the only living organisms that can produce their own food through the process called photosynthesis. Now, animals do not have this chloroplast that contain chlorophyll. Okay, only plant cells have this structure called the chloroplast that contains chlorophyll, which is used for photosynthesis. Okay, in summary, today we learned about the organelles. We learned that the cell is the smallest structure of life, the basic unit of life. Within the cell, there are smaller things called organelles, and these organelles perform specific functions. It's just like within the human body, there are smaller structures called the organs, and these organs perform specific functions. Organelles are small structures in cells that perform specific functions within the cell. There are 7 main organelles that can be seen in the cell under a light microscope. When we examine the cell under an electronic microscope, there are several other organelles that can be seen, but under the light microscope, these are the 7 that we see. The 7 organelles are the cell wall, the cell or plasma membrane. Remember I said we can call it the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. We also have cytoplasm. We also have nucleus. We also have mitochondria. Okay, mitochondria or mitochondrion. Sorry, forgive my spelling here, it was a mistake. We also have the vacuole. We have the chloroplast that is present in plant cells. Some of the organelles are only present in plant cells. Some of these organelles are only present in plant cells. That brings us to the end of our lesson. Please keep studying hard. Bye.